Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crafting and Crime Daily. Today's Wednesday, and I am currently covering the case of Michelle Draconis, who is on trial for conspiracy to commit the murder of Jennifer Dulos. Now, up until yesterday, I kind of was entertaining the idea that this is a Gone Girl situation, as was one of the jurors that got dismissed, because I didn't know the evidence. Yesterday, we got to see the evidence. And I think after I tell you about this, that there's going to be no doubt in your mind that Jennifer Dulos is no longer alive. And that whatever it was that she went through was terrifying and horrifying, and I don't know what other adjectives I can use. So I do want to warn you, though, today I'm going to be showing you a lot of pictures of that evidence. And a lot of it is blood stained. So if that bothers you, I'm sorry. Just don't look up. Just listen. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe. Yes. And hit that notification bell. You want to hit all. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Yep. Guys. Oh my gosh. What a day yesterday. And I was on the edge of my seat. I really was. But by the end of the day, I was like, oh, more? Is there more? Yes. Overwhelming. Okay, so where did I leave off? Okay. I know, the dog urine case. Yes, I know. That's where I left off. So the next witness that takes the stand, first thing yesterday morning, was a member of law enforcement. And he was tasked, after having seen the footage from the C4 footage from that command center that Harvard police run with cameras all over the city. After seeing that footage, he and his team go down and actually attempt to retrieve whatever's left in these trash cans. Now, we don't know if some of them have been empty or not. And I was thinking to myself, that was Memorial Day weekend that she goes missing. And they don't get into C4 until about the 30th, the 31st. She goes missing on the 24th. And we know that Fotis, the camera footage of Fotis and Michelle Draconis driving around Hartford dumping these bags of trash was the evening of the 24th. So the question is, did the trash man come to empty some of this trash, or were they on that Memorial Day holiday schedule? Now, you and I both know when my trash, when there's a holiday, I don't know when they're going to come, to be honest with you. Are they going to come on the regular day, the next, who knows? So it's always a mystery. And they didn't know, so they go out, and so I'm going to walk you through that. First of all, here's a map. Look at this map. This is along Albany Avenue in Hartford. Very, very busy street in Hartford. There were 3 stops made by Fotis Dulos and Michelle Draconis in that black Raptor. The first one, Albany and Garden. So they go to Albany and Garden, and what they did was this team, I think there were 3 of them, they had themselves these large construction garbage bags. So one would hold the bag and the other 2 would empty the contents. First they photographed everything. Like here's the garbage can before. And then they photographed, here's what's inside. So then the 2 of them would empty it into this bag being held open by the 3rd person. And then they would label the bag, Albany and Garden. And then they would take the bag, once they got all of the bags collected, they would take this back to their headquarters and in Hartford. And then they went into the garage and they laid out this butcher block paper. And then they would just dump it out on the butcher block paper. But they wrote on the corner of the butcher block paper, Albany and Garden. This is where it came from. So the first stop, Albany and Garden, they find a bloody t-shirt. And here's a picture of that. Now, we're not, this is just, all this jury heard yesterday was, here's how we collected the garbage, here's the garbage, here's what was in the garbage. And then they would show the picture of what they found, and then the prosecutor would open the evidence bag. She'd, cut it off and open it up and show the bloody t-shirt with each piece of evidence. So it made for a very, very long day. So that was really the most significant thing that they found at Albany and Garden. So the trash may have been picked up at Albany and Garden. The next place they went to was Albany and Blue Hill. And you can see a picture of the dumped out trash on the butcher block paper from Albany and Blue Hill. And it just looks like trash. The only thing that caught my eye was that there was Subway trash in there. And I do recall that the nanny had said, why is my cat outside? Crazy. Now he probably wants back in. I do recall that the nanny had testified that the morning before she took those kids to, the morning of the 24th, she picked the kids up from school. She had purchased Subway. She brought them back home. They ate their Subway, and then they went to New York for their orthodontist appointments. But I think all of this may have happened in the morning before the nanny got there for lunch. So that trash may be totally irrelevant because there was nothing really of evidentiary value that was talked about from this trash at Albany and Blue Hill. Let me go let the cat in. Now, the next place that they stopped was Albany and Green. And boy, ding, 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 they hit the jackpot at Albany and Green. So much evidence, so many things of evidentiary value found in this trash can. So I'm going to go through each one. The first was when they dumped the garbage out, they just took a picture generally of everything there. And from that picture, you can see zip ties and various things. And I'm like, ooh, interesting. That's why I captured that photo, because I didn't realize they were going to show everything individually, but they did. So one of the first things they showed was a bloody poncho. It was a clear poncho. You can tell that it's got blood-like substance on there. Now, there was no testimony with regard to any of this evidence of what the DNA results were, because almost all of this, what was found at Albany and Green, was sent to the lab for testing to see if the DNA will come back to Jennifer or Fotis or Michelle Draconis. And almost all of it had a blood-like substance on it. So we didn't hear any of that, oh, it was presumptive positive for blood, because these guys collecting it, they're not crime scene people. These are the law enforcement people. They just wanted to photograph what was in the trash, photograph what they felt was of evidentiary value, and then put it in the evidence bag. So how, we're going to hear later on, what got sent to the lab, what the results were. Does any of this tie into this missing person investigation? All right, so the one with the clear poncho, and this poncho was held up for the jury, and you could see that the hood of this poncho had been cut off. Then there was a clear, what this officer thought was a clear plastic bag, but when they opened it up, they found out it was another bloody poncho, a second one, but the hood wasn't cut off of this one. Then evidence of cleaning. There was a sponge, and at the time that they photographed the sponge, it was wet and had blood-like substance on it. When they showed it to the jury, it was dry by then. You know how it's one of those yellow and greens, it's this yellow sponge on one side and the green scrubby stuff on the other side. I use them in my kitchen. One of those. And when you leave it for a few days, it just dries up and shrivels up. That's what the jury saw. Then a pair of black gloves. Yeah, black gloves. These gloves had obvious blood-like substance on them. Then keys, some keys. Now, at this point, the defense is, he's out of his seat, arguing that this is, what's the relevancy? Because she wanted, after the prosecutor would show the items, she would go through all this, here's the picture, here's the collection, here's, cut the evidence bag, show the jury. She tried to enter the keys into evidence, and this guy was not having it, this defense attorney. No, if this is not relevant, what's the relevancy? And what she should have asked the officer was, what made you suspect these keys were of evidentiary value? And she didn't ask that question. She just let it go. So these keys did not come into evidence. Not yet. Maybe they'll come in through someone else. We don't know if those keys fit anything, like the vehicles or the house, or we don't know. But I'm curious. Then there was a white towel. It wasn't white anymore. It had blood all over it. I mean, it was, yeah. Something happened. I don't know what happened to this woman, but oh my God, lots of blood. Paper towel, a bloody paper towel, that was retrieved. Multiple garbage bags. Just, they looked like grocery store, like the grocery store bags that you have to separate, you put stuff in, and then you get home and you put them in the recycling. And my sister and I have an argument about whether they're recyclable or not. But these were black, and there wasn't anything in them. So that was one of the things found. And then some of them were tied together, which was strange. Then there was, the officer kept calling it a razor blade. And then the defense attorney got up and said, wouldn't you describe that as more of a box cutter with a razor blade in it? And he goes, yeah, I guess you could call it that. That's what it was. It was a box cutter, a large box cutter. And the razor blade, I can't talk, the razor blade was broken, but it had blood-like substance on it. Yeah. Then there was a bloody screwdriver. A screwdriver. Like, what in the world was done to this woman with a screwdriver and a box cutter? Then there was zip ties. 4 large zip ties. Like, if you held them out, they were probably pretty long. 2 of them were not cut, but the other 2 were cut. So they had been put together and then cut. And they had blood on them. Then there was a bent broom handle. I don't know how in the world they did this, but look at the picture. I mean, it's bent in 2 places, and it had blood on it. Then there was clothing. A Vineyard Vine shirt. And you know how I am not familiar with this Vineyard Vine brand, but I do remember it from the Murdaugh case, because the housekeeper in the Murdaugh case kept saying that Alex wore a Vineyard Vine shirt the morning of the murders. A Vinny Vine, she called it. This was one of his Vinny Vine shirts. So I guess this Vineyard Vine is a upscale brand of shirt. But anyway, it was shown to the jury. It was covered in a blood-like substance and had been cut down the middle. Also with that was a bra. And this was not like a double D cup bra. This was a bra that you can imagine Jennifer Dulos, who's she's a svelte woman. She's not got big shoulders like I do. Would have wore this bra. And it was covered in blood, and it had been cut in the front. It was clasped in the back, but cut in the front. Hi. Hello. You come to see me? Hello. She knows it's lunchtime, but I just ate breakfast, so she ain't getting no lunch. Hi, baby. So, such an interesting day in court. So, here's what I can't wait to see. I want to see, because now they're going to bring Fotis in for an interview, and they're going to bring Michelle Draconis in for an interview. Are we going to get to see the interviews? Because I know during the interview of Michelle Draconis, they tell her, hey, we've been through those trash cans. We found Jennifer's belongings. I want to see what her reaction was to that. We already know she's admitted that that's her in the truck, and that's Fotis in the truck that night, driving around Hartford, dumping all this stuff out. And I believe we're also going to hear that they went to the dump where, if they had picked up the trash, they took it to the dump. And there may have been a search of that. And I can't wait for the forensics. We're going to hear the forensics on all this stuff that was taken to the lab. Is it blood? Whose blood? I don't know. So, more to come. That continues today. This chair is driving me crazy. Okay, I've been working on my diamond painting, Crazy Cat Lady, and I'm really enjoying it. There's a lot of gapping in it because it's an old Diamond Art Club from a couple of years ago. Probably not the same drills that they use today, but at least I hope it's not the same drills that they use today. But anyway, so there's one more case I want to talk to you about before we go today, and that is the case of Jennifer and James Crumley. Now, I know that name sounds familiar to you, those names. These are the people up in Ohio whose son, Ethan Crumley, did a mass shooting in the Oxford High School. And his father had recently purchased him a gun. He clearly had mental health problems. And that day, the day of the mass shooting, he had done this really crazy drawing where he drew the gun and he drew people laid out on the floor with blood. And so they confiscated that drawing. It was on his math paper. And they call his parents in. And Jennifer goes in. I think they both went in. And they said, you need to get your son some help. Well, instead of getting him some help, they left him in school that day, not knowing that the gun was in his backpack. Never asked him, where's the gun? Never said, let's go get you some help. Anyway, he goes on that afternoon to murder 4 students and injure 7 others. So very quickly, the prosecutor for Ohio made it very clear for Oxford, said, we're coming after you, Jennifer and James. You bought him the gun. You didn't get him help when we told you he needed help. And they tried to flee to Canada. Well, they were followed and they were caught before they hit the border of Canada. And they have been in jail ever since. Well, when they first started appearing before the judge or the magistrates, they've had a few different ones. It was clear that they had the same lawyers. They went to the same firm, hired one lawyer, 2 lawyers from the same firm. And they kept saying, they kept being warned, there could be a conflict. No, we're okay with it. We're going to wait. They signed papers that they're waiving the conflict. They were okay. They wanted to have the same lawyers. We're in this together. And I knew that wasn't going to last. And it didn't. They finally have now got their own lawyers and separate trials. So are they going to be pointing fingers at each other? You betcha. You betcha. Hey, he bought the gun. I didn't buy that gun. It's his kid. I don't know. Hey, she knew he needed mental health. Why didn't she take him to the doctor? We're going to have to see how that plays out. However, I will tell you, they are picking the jury today. The jury selection started, I think it started yesterday, but they're going to be hard-pressed in this location to find a jury of 12 people that don't know anything about this, because this is pretty well publicized. And so, you know, they may have to just set that aside and just go for people who could vow to be fair and impartial. First, they're going to cut out all the gun owners, the gun enthusiasts. They're going to be thrown off that jury. And I understand that they've called up like 400 potential jurors. And they're going to try to get that down to 12. And then that trial will start. It hasn't started yet, so I suspect day one of jury selection didn't do it. So they're probably going to be doing that the rest of this week, maybe even into next week, trying to get 12 people that say they can be fair and impartial towards these parents. This is the first trial of this kind in the history of this country where parents are being held responsible for their children's actions in a mass shooting. And I think it's about time. It's about time. Honestly. Your son was a child. He needed help. You don't buy him a freaking gun. Okay. Calm down, Rebecca. I get on my soapbox with mass shootings and gun control. So, Dad's trial is set for March. They have been separated. And I will, of course, follow that case very closely. They've already been in jail for over a year. And just as an aside, there was a case not long ago of a young girl who had been charged with her father's murder. She threw some poison on him, and it eventually killed him. And she had been found guilty. And she was in the same jail as Jennifer Crumley. And she thanked Jennifer Crumley for assisting her in writing the statement that she read at her sentencing that actually got her a more lenient sentence, because she was 15, 16 when this happened. And I thought, you know, Jennifer is making very good use of her time in jail. She's helping other people. She helped this young girl who was charged as an adult with the murder of her father. She helped her write her speech that she gave at sentencing. I thought, you know, that's beautiful. Why didn't you help your son? Just saying. Okay. They are both charged. Jennifer and James are charged with manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter. And they are facing up to 15 years in prison if they're convicted. And I don't know if they're going to get convicted or not. I don't know. Is the jury going to buy this? I would. They don't want me on that. I'd be thrown off that jury so fast. What do you think, Miss Schilling? Guilty! Yeah. They'd be like, thank you. Moving on. They wouldn't pick me. I don't think I'll ever make it to a jury. I'm too. Yes, I have a YouTube channel where I voice my opinion against gun owners. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. All right, guys, that's the trial updates for today. I'm going to be live tonight at 7 o'clock. Yeah, 7 Central Time for Craft With Me Wednesday. Now, I don't know what I'm going to be crafting. Maybe I'll show you what I've been doing on the Crazy Cat Lady. Maybe. Or maybe I'll be crocheting. You never know. Whatever, you know, wherever the mood takes me by this evening. It might just take me to the bedroom for a nap. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. If I don't see you in the live tonight, have a good one. Bye.